If you're like me, you finished the latest season of Gen V and were like,
a lot is happening.
That's right, Emma. In fact, so much happened this season, I decided to put a little video on the top unanswered questions to explore the whole truth. Just don't tell Tech Knight.
And I won't stop searching until I've found the whole truth.
From mysterious trackers, the future of Godolkin, and what exactly did Adam Bork and Ashley do in the bathroom at the pediatric cancer fundraiser? And for those of you who have seen my detailed breakdowns, some of this might be a rehash, so I've left timestamps below so you can see all the topics I'll be covering. But before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll be covering every episode of The Boys Season 4.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
In episode 5, Marie finds out that Godolkin has implanted some sort of tracker into her body, something she has no recollection of, which could mean Cate and her mind-wiping powers had something to do with this. In episode 7, we learn from Dean Shetty that Godolkin is merely a front to study soups, so having these trackers on students makes sense. But we never find out if these are here to merely keep tabs on the students or whether or not they can transfer other vital information. We also don't know if every student has one of these or just a select few. Marie will sense one in Jordan, but we never see her take it out. In the final episode, we saw Cate's arm explode. Her hands have been a crucial weapon in her powers of pushing others to her will, so it's kind of ironic it gets blown off. But now that she's off her meds, the question then becomes, could she potentially use her powers without her hands? I think we've only scratched the surface on how far her powers can go. Now, will she get a new arm? I see 3 possible scenarios. 1, she walks around with a stub forever. 2, Vought springs for her to have some sort of robotic arm. And 3, she regrows it back. Remember, in season 2 of The Boys, Vought was performing tons of experiments on a soup named Gecko, who could regrow body parts. Maybe they've developed a way to synthesize his powers and help other soups grow back parts as well. I also want to talk about Emma turning Sam's mind empty, something that allows him to commit the killing of innocents without his moral conscience getting in the way. How long do these pushing powers last? Like, is Rufus still hitting his dick with a baseball bat every hour? The end of season 1 had this huge twist that Homelander and Vought framed Marie, Jordan, Andre, and Emma and made Sam and Cate the new guardians of Godolkin. Homelander is the de facto leader of Vought, and as such has the power to control the narrative to his will. Over the past few seasons of The Boys, we've seen him become increasingly radicalized towards soup supremacy, so it makes sense he'd align himself with 2 soups who want to take down humans. But how did he know which soups to bring to his side and which ones to frame? Remember that Homelander has super hearing and sight, so it's possible he watched the whole events at Godolkin, including Marie's conversation with Cate, to see how things would play out. Only when it looked like Cate and Sam were done for does he swoop in and change the narrative to his own liking. It's possible Homelander is amassing a team of soups with pro-soup sentiment and using Vought's immense pull and resources in this endeavor. This is why we see him smile at the end of the episode. Everything is going according to plan. Now, very little is known about the status of Homelander's trial. At the end of season 3 of The Boys, Homelander straight up murdered a man for throwing a can of Turbo Rush at his son. The extent of information about the trial comes mainly from 2 brief news flashes. The first in episode 1, where Homelander's lawyer says he stood his ground. The second in episode 2, stating that Homelander is on trial. Showrunner Eric Kripke states that season 1 of Gen V will tie into season 4 of The Boys, so expect more of the Homelander trial to continue. In episode 7, we learned that Homelander's jury will consist of human jurors, so I could totally see him getting convicted and blaming this conviction on racist anti-soup sentiment, thereby in his mind making the conviction invalid. I don't see Homelander going to jail anytime soon. If I had to guess where Marie and the others are at the end of the season, it would be Vought Tower, or at least some sort of Vought facility. All of them wear Vought hospital gowns like those A-Train and Polarity wore while recovering at the tower. You'd think these 4 kids accused of murdering at least 12 people would be in the most confined, soup-proof cells imaginable, but instead they look to be receiving top-notch care access to smoothies, and Andre even appears to have his phone. Marie and the gang did save Ashley Barrett, so it's possible she made some sort of deal with Homelander to keep them at the tower until something can be done with them. Regardless, none of them except for Marie seem to be too concerned at their current predicament, suggesting the others know what's up. After getting her heart broken, we see that Emma has shrunk, but how could she do this without purging? It's possible it could be from the crying itself, but I like the idea that Emma's powers actually center around how she feels about herself. At this moment, she feels pathetically small, and thus she is small. When she is confident and strong, she can get big. From a narrative perspective, this seems a lot more interesting, and it solves the problem of Emma having to purge every time she wants to use her power. A huge unanswered question this season is the status of the virus, which we last saw being handed over to vice presidential candidate Victorie Neuman. As far as we know, the virus in its current form is only transmissible via bodily fluid, and can only last but a few days at ambient temperature. I don't think that Victoria plans on destroying it. It's too valuable of a trump card should Homelander or any other supes attempt to attack her or her family, nor do I think she plans on continuing Cardossa's work, considering she and her daughter are both supes. We know Victoria and Homelander have had a checkered past, so this virus is what gives Victoria some leverage against him. At the end of the season, we see Billy Butcher arrive at the woods. It's quite possible that Grace Mallory, after hearing about it and the virus from Dean Shetty, sent Billy to investigate. Either he or someone from the boys was who she talked to on the phone. I wonder if he'll find Andy's body, the one who died from the virus. Regardless, this whole thing is proof that Vought and Godolkin were experimenting on students, and no doubt something the boys will want to look into. A huge unanswered question this season is the whereabouts of Marie's sister, Annabeth. It seems everyone knows where she is except for Marie. In fact, Marie's whole motivation to get into the Seven is tied around her need to prove to her sister that she's not a monster, but a hero. All we really know is that Annabeth was taken into foster care after Marie killed their parents. Ashley says she can get Marie in touch with her, so she is very likely alive. Haley Miller said they contacted her, but she wanted nothing to do with Marie, something Dean Shetty says is likely a lie to get Marie flustered before her big interview. And I would not be surprised if Annabeth has powers. If Marie's parents gave her Compound V, then why not her sister too? This has the potential to completely shake up the show, and I'm here for it. Speaking of Marie, I think we've only reached the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how far her powers can go. Dr. Cardosa claimed that Marie might be one of the most powerful supes out there. In episode 8 alone, we learn she can give people heart attacks, pop off body parts like Victoria Neuman, and manipulate the blood of nearby corpses, turning them into daggers. Imagine she could give multiple people heart attacks, destroy a person with a single pop to the head, or what if she could manipulate blood itself and heal others? Two supes who could definitely use some healing are Polarity and Andre. Polarity suffers from neural microtears, a result of years of using his powers, and it seems the same will happen to Andre the more he continues to use his power. It looks as though Andre will have to choose between following in his father's footsteps and it gradually killing himself, or a life of not being a supe. But knowing the show, they'll find a way to heal or reverse this ailment. I go into greater detail in my season 1 ending video, but I think it's pretty much confirmed that Social Media Jeff was working for Ashley Barrett and Vought. We'll see Ashley's assistant, also Ashley, yes that's her real character name, try to get in contact with Jeff after he informed her his cover might be blown. Unfortunately for Jeff, that's not the only thing of his that will get blown. I do think season 2 will continue at Godolkin, not because of any particular plot point, but from a purely production standpoint. This show is expensive, and they've spent so much money on dozens of elaborate sets, which would all go to waste should the show move away from Godolkin. If you look at the boys, they're still using tons of sets that were built all the way in season 1. Also, the whole premise of the show is supes at college, so expect a way to get these kids back to Godolkin. There's really only one adult character in the Gen V universe with the background and experience to tackle the job, and that's Polarity. He's a supe himself, a Godolkin trustee, a Vought yes man, and with him expected not to use his powers, a more administrative job may be just what he needs. This also keeps Polarity in the picture and more interactions between him and Andre. In the finale, Ashley Barrett came to Godolkin in the hopes of rejuvenating its image by selecting one of its students to join the Seven. They never make a decision on who this person is, and honestly, all the other choices beyond Marie, Jordan, Emma, and Andre, like Maverick, feel kind of lackluster. This person would also likely have to join the main cast cast of The Boys, so I think this decision will be put on hold for the time being. I'd have to imagine that Dean Shetty and Victoria Neuman knew each other. As Marie's mysterious benefactor, Victoria would have had some pull at the university, and what better person than the dean herself. Shetty would also have been aligned politically with Victoria, seeing her as this anti-soup head of the FBSA candidate she could get along with, of course not knowing that Victoria is in fact a soup herself. Whether or not Victoria knew about the woods prior to Marie telling her remains unknown. In episode 1, Golden Boy has these sort of dreamlike hallucinations of his brother Sam, but Sam here is a boy. This is never really explained, but it could be assumed that Cate wiped his memory of his brother so many times that what remains is a younger version of him. And I know, everyone is wondering what happened to Rufus's dick, quite possibly the biggest mystery of all. Honestly, it's probably just a healing power considering the next day he's out partying at a kegger. He also tells Marie it's not what it looks like. What did he mean by that, and why would he be naked in a robe after having just used his powers to roofie her into his room? Get it? His name is Rufus? Normally I don't finish on dicks, well that sounded weird, but we've come to the end of the video. What unanswered questions and theories do you still have? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time remember, Daddy loves you very much.